الورد ويا الازهار والدر والجماني غنت فرح وتختار من اروع المعاني. الورد ويا الازهار والدر والجماني غنت فرح.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى، خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله الأزكياء وأصحابه الأتقياء أما بعد. So we are studying the book of Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi, Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, and Al-Adab Al-Mufrad is focused on the characters that a person should adopt into his life. So Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi, he indicated this book he wrote this book in a manner where it addresses every single person in the community, whether scholarly or not. Every person can benefit from some basic characters of life. And all of his chapters and all the lessons have been supported by the narrations from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the first chapter we discussed was regarding the etiquettes of parents, how a person should deal with his parents. And now we are on the chapter of how to deal with relatives, and how important it is in Islam to maintain relations, and what are the rights of one person to another with regards to relations. In one hadith, as narrated by Imam Abu Dawud rahmatullahi alayhi, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, ألا أخبركم بأفضل من درجة الصيام والصلاة والصدقة؟ قالوا بلى. قال سلاح ذات البين وفساد ذات البين هي حالقة. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, one common method of educating the community was ألا أخبركم ألا أنبئكم. That was a common way Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he educated the community by saying these statements. ألا أخبركم ألا أنبئكم. Shall I not inform you? Shall I not tell you? So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam had the habit of questioning the Sahaba before giving it to them. The reason why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would question them before giving it to them, so if we were sitting in a gathering, I would say to you that the best deed is this and this and this. And the second thing is I ask you, what is the best deed? Then you think to yourself, wow, that's a good question. What is the best deed? If I know this best deed, I'm set for life. So then you say, oh, I don't know, why don't you tell me? So then I say to you, okay, now you're paying attention because you know the value of this word. What the next thing I'm going to say, you know the value to it. So you're listening very carefully, and then when I say to you, the best deed is X, Y, Z, now you value it a lot more. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he would educate, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was fasih and baligh. Very eloquent, very intellectual, very smart. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was, even though he was ummi, unlettered, but his education came directly through a spiritual line from Allah to Jibreel alayhi salam directly to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It was such a powerful link. The source of spirituality was so powerful. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, through his wisdom, whenever he wanted to educate the Sahaba, he would always ask that question, أَلَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ أَلَا أُخْبِرُكُمْ. Not always, but generally, that would be the form. So the purpose was to create this talab. Talab in Arabic means something you seek, right? Or something you desire, a talab, okay? So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam will create this desire inside the student. Because when a student has a desire, or when someone seeks something, he becomes, as we say in Urdu, beichain ho jata hai. He loses, he isn't calm anymore, he loses his calmness, and he's really keen on gaining what he's searching for. He's after that thing, and he's restless, he's just looking and looking and looking for that thing that he wants. So when a person is seeking something, generally the seeker doesn't feel at comfort until he achieves what he's seeking. Okay? So let me explain this with a simple example. For many of us in the community, we search for wealth. And we keep searching for wealth, we keep searching for wealth, we keep searching for wealth. And the only time we feel comfort, rest, and peace is when we see a very big house, when we see a nice car, when we see big parties, when we see good clothing, when we see good food. So when the person searches for wealth, the only time he feels happy is when he finds peace within his dunya. When he finds the dunya that's around him, the world that he lives in begins to beautify. This is when he feels peace. Or it's an illusion, but he makes himself feel at comfort. But the Sahaba and the awliya Allah and those who were from a pious predecessors, the Salaf Salihin, their eyes were never on this world. Their eyes were always on the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they were always searching for the pleasure of Allah, always searching for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they were so deeply involved in this search that the only thing they cared about, just as the one who's searching for wealth, the only thing he cares about is his dunya. These people were so worried about the akhirah, so worried about the pleasure of Allah, that the only thing they worried about is the akhirah. The only thing they worried about was the akhirah. Because the purpose of this life was لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. That's the purpose of this life. So Allah can see which one of the servants has good deeds to bring in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So their purpose in life was to seek the rida, the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they went after that, and while going after that, the only thing they feared about or cared for was the akhirah. And we care for the beauty of this world, and the only thing we care about is this world. So when we see some glamour in this world, that's enough for us, and we're happy, we enjoy our life, and we don't want to step out of our comfort zone or our little bubble that we live in. Because we have a nice car, because we have a nice house, because we have a nice job, because we're feeding ourselves, feeding our family, feeding our children. We think we've done everything that we were born for, and we think we've completed the mission statement of our life. But the reality is the total opposite. Okay, the reality is the total opposite. And we see the reality in the lives of the Sahaba radhiyallahu ta'ala majma'in. They were so focused on the pleasure of Allah that their mind was always on the akhirah. Hamdallah radiallahu anhu, very famous hadith. He's walking in the streets and what is he screaming out to people? Nafaqa hamdallah, nafaqa hamdallah. Hamdallah has become munafiq. Very famous hadith. He's saying, I've become a hypocrite. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu says to Hamdallah radiallahu anhu, that, oh Hamdallah, you are a companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and you say you've become a hypocrite? How did you become a hypocrite? He said that when I sit in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is speaking, I feel as if, I can feel the veracity and the power of the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When he talks about Jannah, when he talks about Jahannam, that all we do is cry and cry and cry and cry. But then when I leave this gathering, when I go back home, I get involved with my family, my children, my wife, my wealth, and then I forget about that scene altogether. So he says, I have a two-faced life, right? I'm dha wajhain, the one who has two faces. So therefore, I am a hypocrite. So Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, when he hears this, he says that, oh, if that's what your state is, then guess what? I second that, and I have the same situation. So they both took their case to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu said, before we carry on our campaign and gather the whole Madinah Munawwara with us, let's go to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and find out the reality to the matter. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. This is a principle. That if you're confused on something and you don't know the answer, don't give a verdict yourself. For the sake of Allah and for the sake of the Ummah. Don't give verdicts yourself, because the moment you start giving verdicts without Sharia being involved, then there's going to be an issue. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, even though what Alhamdulillah is saying is 100% convincing, and he's sure what Alhamdulillah is saying is the truth, and it exists within him too. But he doesn't just join on and start campaigning the whole Madinah Munawwara. What do? They say, let's stop. Let's take the matter to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because if there's anyone that will know regarding the inner diseases, it is none other than Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Let us ask Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he clarifies the matter. The point that I wanted to prove through this hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he mentions to the Sahaba that you are not hypocrites. The reality is that if you remain in this state of crying and in feeling the presence of Jannah and Jahannam throughout your entire day, while you were with your families and while you were with your children, the angels from the sky would come and they spread their wings for you. They come and kiss your hands and shake your hands. But this is a human being. The insan, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. He has both lives. Do you understand? There's fujur there, there's a person he transgresses, and then وَتَقْوَاهَا, then he has a life where he fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala too. Both sides of the coins are there in the life of the human being. So these were the Sahaba. Umar radiallahu anhu, he comes to Hudayfa radiallahu anhu. Hudayfa radiallahu anhu is the companion who was known as the one who kept the secrets of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to tell him the secrets. He was like, the very close person to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he comes to Hudayfa and he says to Hudayfa radiallahu anhu, that you know of all of the people who are hypocrites because of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He pointed them out to you during his life. So can I ask you, is my name in that list? Who's saying this? Umar radiallahu anhu. You and I, with a little ibadah, with a little, recitation of the Quran, a few words here and there, we kept a beard, we pray our 5 daily salah, give zakah, do our hajj, we fast, and we believe that we are the greatest awliya Allah. And sometimes, luckily, once in a few months, we may pray the hajj salah, and we walk out in the morning, we're looking towards the sky while walking towards Fajr salah, waiting for Jibreel alayhi salam to come with wahi. I did something good today, so let me wait for Jibreel alayhi salam to come. Or telling people that, last night I'm tired, man, what happened? I prayed the hajj salah last night and it was tough. I'm telling you. So people, we love boasting over our deeds. And Umar radiallahu anhu, who is he? لَوْ كَانَ نَبِيًّا بَعْدِي لَكَانَ عُمَرٍ. This is Umar radiallahu anhu, right? He is a person of status. He's a person of rank. He's a person of piety. And he's worried that, am I a hypocrite or not? Was my name in the list of the hypocrites? Anyone could have testified. I could have testified if I was there. You could have testified that if there's anyone that isn't a hypocrite, it's Umar radiallahu anhu. His love for Rasulullah, his sacrifice for Rasulullah. For anything, his daughter married Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That itself was a sign of purity, right? But now look at these people, they were always worried about the akhirah. That forget about this dunya, whatever I achieve in this dunya, whether I'm a khalifa or not, you just tell me, is my akhirah okay or not? So these people were always worried about the akhirah. In this world, we're so worried about our wealth that if someone came to us and told us that, there's a very good, there's so-and-so company stocks are very good. Or there's a very good way to earn money. And on the internet you always have these banners, earn money for free, or, I need, these crazy emails you get, and crazy banners they have up there, that do something very easy and you earn $100,000. Or do this and you earn $200,000. So people are always looking for the easy way out. People are always looking for the easy way out. And whenever someone talks about money, our ears attach to that person. Oh, what is he saying? Oh, nowadays, someone came the other day and he asked, Mufti Sahib, what's a good business to start? I want to start a business, what should I do? So instead of asking about, the akhirah or something that I would know of, he asks about that I would try to know of. He says, so tell me about business. So then I told him, okay, what, I think, a very big need right now in our society is, as the market is developing, I think someone should dedicate some time towards developing Islamic ebooks. Or not ebooks, kya kehte usko? Audiobooks. They have audiobooks. So I said, everyone listen to audio these days. There's, audio wherever you go. If someone just sits down and reads Fadal Amal or 2 or 3 books of hadith or some very good books, gather some books together, and he just has to sit there and read them and record his voice and make a book out of it. It's something the Muslim market hasn't hit yet. The market is developing. It's something good to do. So this person became very happy. MashaAllah, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. This person is a very good person. So whenever someone talks to us about the dunya, we get attached to that person immediately. Because it's something that we like, something we enjoy. You sit in front of a kid and you talk about video games, you talk about Halo, and he's going to get a kick out of that conversation. You go to a person who one of our youth, and you talk about basketball, that's what he's going to love. Okay? You go to the girls and you sit with women and you talk about, about family life, about children, about makeup, about cooking, whatever interests them, and they enjoy the conversation. So everyone has an interest that they enjoy. Likewise, the Sahaba also had an interest. And amazingly, their interest had nothing to do with sports. Amazingly, the Sahaba's interest had nothing to do with weightlifting, nor did it have anything to do with Xbox, nor did it have anything to do with your PSP. Their interest had nothing to do with food. Their interest had nothing to do with vacation sites. Their interest had nothing to do with cars, with houses, with clothing. Nothing. They had an interest though. And it was a common interest. And what was that interest? The akhirah and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in front of us, someone would say, oh, there's an easy way to earn money now. The government is getting grant. If you just fill out a few forms, you're ready to go. You're going to earn $3,000 per month. We get excited. Wow, show me those forms. Come on, Mufti Sahib. I'm not going to let you leave the masjid until you give me those forms. I can just say 2 words and you'll have me. You won't let go of me until I give you those forms. The same way the Sahaba were about the akhirah. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, shall I not tell you a way to enter into paradise head over heels? Ya Rasulullah, whatever happens, just tell me how to do that. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, shall I not tell you of a deed that is better than your salah, your zakah, and your fasting? The Sahaba were just shattered. That, oh my God, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to tell us this deed? You and I have no value for that at all. If I sat here saying that today I'm going to tell you of something that is better than salah, zakat, and also fasting, sawm, probably everyone's just sitting here, okay, what's next? There's no excitement. And the Sahaba radhiyallahu ta'ala alayhim ajma'in, they were so excited, subhanallah, that it was beyond imagination. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in this hadith, he says That أَلَا أُخْبِرُكُمْ بِأَفْضَلِ مِنَ الصَّوْمِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَالصَّدَقَةِ. That he says to the Sahaba that should I not inform you of something that is better than giving in the path of Allah, better than fasting, and also better than salah. So the Sahaba are shocked that what could this deed be? We heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that salah is a pillar of religion. We heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the hadith al-Qudsi that my servant, he gains closest to me through nafil salah. And he gets so close to me that فَإِذَا أَحْبَبْتُهُ, then I fall in love with this person. فَإِذَا أَحْبَبْتُهُ كُنْتُ سَمْعُهُ الَّذِي يَسْمَعُ بِهِ وَبَصَرَهُ الَّذِي يُبْصِرُ بِهِ وَيَدَهَ الَّذِي يَبْطِشُ بِهَا. That I become so close with my servant through salah. Salah is that tool that if a person he holds on to his salah and he becomes punctual on his salah, not only does Allah love that person, Allah falls in love with him. So the whole idea of going and searching for Allah becomes easy because Allah comes and falls in love with you. أَحْبَبْتُهُ. The fa'il is the tu, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And then Allah says, when I fall in love with that person, I then listen from the ears that person is listening from. I then look from the eyes that person is looking through, and I speak with the voice that person is speaking with, and I touch with the hands that person is touching. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in complete sync with this person, and this person just has to think something, and Allah is ready to accept that person's prayer. He just has to say something, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ready to fulfill that person's his need, his want. So now the Sahaba heard the great merits of salah. They heard regarding fasting. They heard regarding fasting that if a person fasts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the hadith al-Qudsi, as-sawmu li, that fasting is for me, wa ana ajzi bi, and I will fast, I will reward for fasting as I desire. Right? So the reward is so great. Allah isn't even specifying anything. Allah is saying that whatever whatever I want, I will give. And then when it comes to giving in the path of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, the one who gives $1 in the path of Allah, I will give him minimum 700 back in return. So in return he gets 700 deeds just for giving $1. So all this reward regarding these great deeds, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is saying there's something that's better than this? What is that? So then the Sahaba said, قَالُوا بَلَا Ya Rasulullah, tell us, what is it? What is it? So look at the way Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he worked with the Sahaba. Look at the way Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he questioned them. And by questioning them, he created a desire within them. And then once there was a desire there, then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would tell them that, then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would tell them what they needed to know. Now when a person has a desire, always remember that without a desire for something, Allah will never ever grant you that thing. Let me put it in simpler words. طلب के बगैर मदद नहीं आती. That until a person doesn't seek or desire something, Allah's help won't come in that thing. So for example, if you want help in your deen, you have to desire the deen. If you want help in your memorization of the Quran, you have to desire to be a hafiz. You have to understand what it means to be a hafiz. I remember when I was studying hifz, when I was memorizing the Quran, I was in Buffalo. And at the time, I was probably 8 years old. And I was probably 9. I was 9 years old. And I entered into a new class. My teacher's name was Qari Abdul Samad. He just joined the madrasa, he was new, so I was allocated to his class. So when I sat in his class, what happened was, it happened to be my mother came to drop me off to the school. She drove from Kentucky with us all the way to Buffalo, New York, and she dropped us off there. And then when she was leaving, she kind of just met my teacher. I told my teacher that this is my mother. I told my mother this is my teacher. So my mother then told my teacher that, can you please give a little attention to my child? I want him to become a hafiz. It's been many years, and he hasn't completed his Quran yet, so please, give him some attention so he can memorize the Quran. So then my teacher said, okay, don't worry, I'll take care of him. You don't have to worry about it. So then he sat me down the next day and he asked me that I have a question for you. I said, yes, what's your question? So at that time, I was known as the Afdal al-Badmash, the greatest Badmash that existed. The highest of Badmash, my name must have been there. Badmash, for those who don't know Urdu, is, I don't know, someone very mischievous? Yeah. I was at the limits of that at that time. Crazy things. Allah forgive us for those days. So my teacher asked me that, do you want to become hafiz? Are you sure you want to become hafiz? I said, yes, I want to be hafiz. He said, what happens if you become hafiz? I said, my parents get happy. He said, okay, here's the problem. He said, look, you need to change this intention. You're not doing it for your parents. Because if you're doing it for your parents, the purpose of doing hifz, you've lost it. That's not the right reason. You need to do hifz so you can hold the Quran in your heart, and so you can become a soldier that's going to protect this gem in his heart. And you will be a soldier who will be there to defend the Quran. So when he put in these words, I was like, wow, that sounds so cool. I'm going to be a soldier who defends the Quran. That's like a dream come true. It's like a movie. I woke up and I'm some guy who was chosen to do something. So he then told me, okay, if you want to do hifd, now that you want to do it, let me explain to you what has to be done in order to complete your hifd. And he went through the whole process. That you have to leave haram things. You have to leave even doubtful food. If you're not even sure if that ingredient is halal or not, leave it. Because if you want the Quran to go in your heart, then your heart has to be pure. If your heart is doubtful, something pure can't go into a doubtful bowl. You need to purify your heart first. You need to make sure what you're putting in there, where it's going into, needs to be clean. Your life should be wrapped within the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he gave a very long lecture. And after I heard that lecture, this is when I realized what it meant to be a student of the hifd, a student of one who wishes to memorize the Quran. And when my life changed, and spiritually, and in essence, I began to follow what my teacher was saying, Wallahi al-Azim, I'm not lying, subhanAllah, the Quran just began to pour into our hearts. The Quran began to pour in. There was a time, by the mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not from us at all, that we were reciting half juz sabaq per day. And this was just by purifying or trying to clean up the mess that existed within our lives. All the doubtful food we eat, all the haram things we do. So what I was saying is that when a person has talab for something, when he has a desire for something, then the help of Allah comes. And then when the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes, the pathways, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا, those who have talab, those who have a desire, who wish to seek, what happens in return? What happens? لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. We guide that person, then we help that person. So the Sahaba Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam always created this talab inside them. And this is the reality. And this is, even though the next part of the hadith is where the actual focus is, but this is important, so we'll discuss it while we're here. That even if you come to these lectures, or if you come to the masjid, or anything, you should always be seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything. In any aspect of life, any dispute in your life, anything that happens, always intend the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if you have that in front of you, then you will be worried about the akhirah, and the idea of displeasing or transgressing the orders of Allah won't even exist. Okay. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says to the Sahaba that, should I not inform you of something that is better than salah, sadaqah, zakat, and so on and so forth? The Sahaba said, قالوا بلى يا Rasulullah, tell us, please tell us, what is this thing that's better than giving in the path of Allah, fasting, and also praying salah? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied back by saying, صلاح ذات البيت. What did he say? صلاح ذات البيت, meaning join your relations. Go and join relations with people, and you will find yourself earning a reward that is greater than all of this. Now, before we move ahead, there's like a ilmi sawal, as we would say. Someone may question that how could joining relations be better than fasting? How can it be better than praying salah? How can it be better than giving in the path of Allah, giving zakah? When in reality, these are the pillars of Islam. And how can something that isn't a pillar of Islam be better than something that... How can something that isn't a pillar of Islam be better than something that is a pillar of Islam? It's a question, right? Someone can ask that question. So the answer to this is that when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that I'm going to inform you of something that is better than salah, zakat, and sadaqah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, I'm going to inform you of something that is better than nafli salah, nafli zakah, which is sadaqah in our terms, and also nafl saw, meaning voluntary acts. Obviously the fard salah is the best deed a person can do. Obviously the fard zakat is the best deed a person can do. Obviously fasting in the days of Ramadan is a very good deed, and it's something that probably no other deed can beat. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith is talking about the voluntary acts, the voluntary salah, the voluntary sawm, the voluntary sadaqah. These things better than all this. If you're going to pray 100 rakat of nafl, instead of that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that this is a deed that is better than that. If you're going to fast all year for voluntary purposes or just for reward, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying there's something that's better than that too. If you're going to give $3 million in one fundraising dinner just for the masjid, there's something that's better than that too. And what is that? Salah ذات البين, joining between relations. Joining relations. So this is there are two parts of the hadith. The first part of the hadith is Salah ذات البين, joining relations. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he placed such emphasis on this that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in one hadith that أنا زعيم, I am the one who will take guarantee ببيت في وسط الجنة. I promised the person a house in the middle of paradise. Not even in paradise, at some corner somewhere. Where? Right in the middle of downtown. Not downtown, man. Right in the middle of Jannah, right in the middle of paradise. I promise you a house for who? For the one who joins relations. You know two people that aren't talking. You know two people that don't want to see each other's faces. You know two people who even erase their contact info from their phone books, and they don't want to even hear that person's name. If you know there are two people like that and you can join them together, Rasulullah ﷺ says, you go on that mission and you are successful in that mission, I promise you a house in the middle of Jannah. I promise you that, and I guarantee you that. وَهُوَ سَيِّدُ الصَّادِقِينَ. How can anyone doubt the word of Rasulullah ﷺ? It's as if Rasulullah ﷺ is saying, and this manner and this tone of speech hasn't been given to any other deed. Rasulullah ﷺ hasn't said this regarding any other deed. that أَنَا زَعِيمٌ بِبَيْتٍ فِي وَسْطِ الْجَنَّةِ, that I guarantee a person a house in the middle of Jannah for so and so thing. It doesn't exist anywhere else but in this one instance. And what is that thing? For the one who does? For the one who joins relations. Who brings two people that are on east and west, and he brings their hearts together right in the center of the earth. He brings them both together. They're here, joined together for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He brings love within them. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in his entire life, he would lead the salah. Now, never did Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam give adhan in his entire life. Giving adhan, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he never gave an adhan in his entire life. Never. It's not proven anywhere. The reason now Muhaddithin say, why was it that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not give an adhan in his life? The reason was that because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was a messenger of Allah, and when a messenger gives an order, fulfilling that order immediately is an obligation. And if a person even delays the fulfillment of that order, he leaves the fold of Islam. So if Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Hayya ala salah, come towards salah, and someone delays his pathway towards the masjid, if he delays that, there's a fear that he may leave the folds of Islam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in order to save the iman of other people, he gave the responsibility of adhan to different sahaba. Now there were three main sahaba who would give it. In Medina Munawwara it was Bilal radiallahu anh, and Abdullah ibn Maktum radiallahu anh. In Makkah Mukarramah it was Abu Mahdura radiallahu anh. These were the main people who gave adhan during the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So, however, Rasulullah, now one thing you see there, the wisdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That just for the safety of the iman of another person, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he gave the responsibility of giving the adhan to another person. Our teacher, whenever he would address his children, a father when he addresses his son, he would always say to him, for example, a father says, Pani lekar aao, go get water, thanda pani lekar aana, go bring cold water, pair dabao, massage my feet for me, bistar saaf karo, go clean your bed. Parents, they tell these things to their children, and rightfully they should tell their children. And those parents who don't, we encourage you to tell your children to do something in the house. This is going to, give them the ability to be humble and serve at least someone, at least serve themselves, if anything. We pamper our children so much, and when they reach age, we tell them, do this, do that, do this, do that. You didn't ask them to do it from the first day. Today you're going to ask them, and you think they're going to do it? Doing tarbiyah of a child is important. So, however, our teacher, what I was saying, is that whenever he would speak to his child, he was very careful. He would always say, तुम पानी लेकर आओ तो अच्छा है, बिस्तर साफ कर लो तो अच्छा है. This is what he would say. He'd say, अपना जूते सही कर लो तो अच्छा है. That if you go get water, it'll be good for you. If you clean up your room, it'll be good for you. Why would he say this? Because if he orders him, go clean your bed, and that guy, and the kid, he decides to go inside and just, all the junk that's on his bed, he just throws a sheet over it, and he didn't clean his bed. Now what happens in return? He disobeyed his parents. And by disobeying his parents, he just committed a kabira, a major sin. And by committing a major sin, he is now in the sakhat of Rabb. He has now called in the anger of his Lord. Now the parent is making dua that, oh Allah, grant my child success, oh Allah, grant my child success. And the anger of Allah is directed right at that child. Because of the way the parents address their children. Addressing your children is very important, the way it's done. Because the dua of a parent is always accepted for the child. There was one scholar, Imam A'raj. I'm not sure if you've heard of his name. He's a famous mufassir, Imam A'raj. A'raj in Arabic means a limp. Someone who walks langra, as we say in Urdu. Right? The reason Imam A'raj was called Imam A'raj because of a very interesting incident that took place in his life. When he was young, he was once playing with a bird. He had a little rope in his hand. He tied one side of the rope inside the bird's leg, and he was playing with it. So the bird would try to fly and he'd pull it down. Then the bird would try to fly and he'd pull it back down. So the mother said to the child, Imam Araj's mother said to him that if you play with a bird like this, what if you pull it too hard? The leg is going to come out. He said to his mom, no, I know what I'm doing. Kids always say that. I know what I'm doing. You don't have to tell me, as if they're the first people that have come into this world. Mom, I know, you don't have to tell me. So then he said that to his mother, I know what I'm doing, don't worry, I won't do it. Mom said, okay, go ahead, play then. So the bird tried to fly, and what did he do? He didn't realize the bird was flying, and then by instinct he jerked it. When he jerked the rope, what happened? The leg came off. What happened to the bird? The leg came off. So then the mother said, that may Allah do the same to you. And his leg broke there, and he became a limp. And he was known in history as Imam Araj, the limp. So the way a parent addresses their child is it's a sly line. You understand? It's very delicate, as I want to say. It's very delicate. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in order to avoid harming anyone's iman, he gave the responsibility of giving adhan to another person. However, imamat, leading the salat, this was the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was present, there was no one other than him that would lead the salah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if in his presence, he would be the only one that would lead the salah until the point that in the battlefield, right? In the battlefield, what would happen? How would the Sahaba read their salah? There was something called Salatul Khawf, a special salah for the battlefield. So what would happen is the Sahaba would break into two groups. One group would fight, the other group would pray one rak'ah with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then this group would then, after their one rak'ah, they'd go into the battlefield, and that group would come and join Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And like this, they would pray one rak'ah at a time with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam until Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would lead them in salah. But even then, in the battlefield, when they're fighting with the enemy, they would not pray the salah without Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's in the ayat of this is in the 5th parah, forgetting the ayat regarding Salatul Khawf. وَلْيَأْخُذُوا حِذْرَهُمْ وَأَسْلِحَتَهُمْ. The ayat there. Anyway, so this was the whole Salatul Khawf, the discussion of how they would pray salah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was always the imam in his time. There was only one incident in the entire life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed behind someone. Only one sahabi who led Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in salah. Only one sahabi. Who was that sahabi? Abu Bakr, no. Who led Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in salah? Who was the one sahabi? Someone said it. Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu. Correct. He was the only sahabi who led Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in salah. What happened was that there were two groups of people that were arguing. And Rasulullah, there was two groups and they started arguing, these two groups. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard of the argument. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went for the afdhal al-amal, the best of deeds. And he went to the two people and the two groups and he began to join them together. Don't break away, keep your relations, be kind to each other. Why are you going to argue? Why do you not want to speak with each other? Why do you want to be harsh with each other? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was working on these two groups. And the Sahaba were waiting in the masjid and there was no one there and they couldn't see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They weren't sure where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had went. So Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu, he began to lead the salah. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came and he prayed behind Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sacrificed his takbir ula, the first takbir at the beginning of the Jamaat. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sacrificed being an imam for even once in his life. For you and I that may be nothing, but for Rasulullah that was a big thing. Sacrificing his imamah. For what? Just to bring two groups together. So do you understand the reward in bringing two hearts together? Do you understand the reward here? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is sacrificing his imamah. And then after salah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he goes to Abdurrahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu and says to Abdurrahman, "Oh Abdurrahman, every Nabi at some point in his life must pray behind a person from his ummah. And Allah chose for you to be the person who I prayed behind." And so it's subhanAllah, look at the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at the way the anbiya did tarbiyah of their companions. That they would teach them and then they would observe them. That let me see how you lead the salat. Once I lead, is this deen going to end? No. It's going to carry on. How are you going to do it? Are you going to do what you think is right? Or are you going to do what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said was right? What are you going to do? Are you going to make your own decisions or are you going to follow the decision of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So this was the second. The third thing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in the hadith, ليس الكذاب الذي يصلح بين الناس ويقول خيرا وينمي خيرا. Again, showing the importance of joining relations. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in the hadith that the person, ليس الكذاب, such a person is not a liar. Such a person is not a liar. الذي يصلح بين الناس, who joins between people, who joins between two people. يصلح, he does islah. He joins two hearts together. And in order to join two hearts together, وَيَقُولُ خَيْرًا وَيَنْمِي خَيْرًا, he has to even lie a little. He has to say a few words that didn't exist, but he's lying. Why is he lying? To join two hearts. And this is instance Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually gave permission for a person to lie. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave permission that if you need to lie to join two hearts, you may do it, but make sure you join the two hearts. Now what does it mean to lie to join two people? You have to understand this. Okay. So the muhaddithin, they go into two groups. The first group of muhaddithin, they say that you won't lie, you'll speak the truth, but in that person's eyes, he may be thinking something else, but you're saying something else. For example, you're saying to the person that, Azam Bhai and Arham Bhai, they're in an argument. So then I say to Azam Bhai, Arham Bhai, he loves you a lot. He cares so much for you that he makes dua for you every single day. Azam Bhai is thinking, wow, that guy was the one who tried to tackle me on the soccer field and tried to break my legs. And now he's making dua for me. Wow, what an amazing guy. And all this time I thought that Arham Bhai didn't like me, and Azam Bhai sends an email to Arham Bhai. Arham Bhai, all this time I had hard feelings for you, I'm sorry for what happened. I want to be friends with you, let's go out for dinner. Let's go out for lunch. Let's go somewhere together. So, now, this person thinks that he's making dua for him, and I know he isn't making dua for him. I know for a fact Arham Bhai is not making dua for Azam Bhai because he wanted to hit Azam Bhai and Azam Bhai jumped. And he's still after that hit. Okay? But, now apparently it seems a lie, but in reality it isn't. Why is it not a lie? Because this person in his dua every day he says, Rabbana atina. What does he say? Rabbana atina. What does atina mean? Oh Allah, give us. And the us refers to the Muslim Ummah. Rabbana atina fi dunya hasana. Oh Allah, give all the people in the Muslim Ummah good. So, in Desi communities they say, हमारे लिए दुआ करना, हमें दुआ करूंगा, फिक्र मत करो. खास दुआ करना, हाँ खास दुआ करूंगा, फिक्र मत करो. नाम लेकर दुआ करना. This is where you have to say inshallah. Because that becomes very hard. So now, this is the meaning the muhaddithin give, that you shouldn't directly lie. You should try to make a way where it seems that person understands something, but you're saying something else. Do you understand? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam put such emphasis on joining hearts. On the other hand, the people, the last part of the hadith, and I just want to finish off this part of hadith and we're finished for today, inshallah al-aziz. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith that should not inform you of a deed that is better than Sawm, fasting, better than Salah, praying, better than Zakah, giving in the path of Allah. The Sahaba said, Bala, tell us. Ya Rasulullah, tell us please, what is the deed? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied back by saying that Salah Hadat al-Bayn, joining the hearts of two people. Bringing these two people together. Whoever they are, bringing two people together, bringing two brothers together, two sisters together, two cousins together, a father and son together, a mother and her son together, bringing them together will take you very far in your amal. Will take you very far. Okay? Now the opposite, the last part of the hadith is, وَفَسَادُ ذَاتَ الْبَيْنِ هِيَ خَالِقَةٌ. However, if you decide to do the opposite and you decide to be the one who breaks hearts, if you take the opposite stance and you decide to break people apart, هِيَ خَالِقَةٌ, your action will actually shave you of all of your deeds. It's going to take all of your deeds away. So you could be there praying your salah, you could be doing X, Y, Z, and all this good ibadah, and big imamah, and big, galabiya, and dressed up like a big mashallah, Hazrat Sheikh, Allama, Pir and Pir, Qutub al-Aqtab, some very big scholar, but in reality, you're breaking the hearts of people. So, you've misunderstood what Sharia means. Do you guys recall last week what I said? What is the definition of Sharia? Who remembers? What is Sharia composed of? Two things. Sharia is there for us to understand two things. Huququllah and Huququl Ibad. This person has understood Huququllah by doing a lot of ibadah, the right of Allah, but he's totally misunderstood and he lacks in Huququl Ibad, the right of the servants. If he is causing friction and disunity and he's breaking up the community, then this person is actually a thorn and he needs to be dealt with. This deed of argument is so disliked by Allah that because of an argument, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was made to forget the night of Laylatul Qadr, the night of Qadr. Right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew exactly which night. So now we're told that search for the night of Qadr in which nights? Odd nights of the last 10 days. So 21, 23, 25, 27, 29. Search in these 5 nights for Laylatul Qadr. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one night he stepped out and he said, I know the exact night, and he was just going to tell people, and what happened? 2 people were arguing, and because of their argument, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He picked up this, He lifted this mercy. He lifted that day. Look at the nahus that argument brings within our community. So I was saying, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in one hadith, and I'm just showing you how greatly this deed is disliked by Allah, the one who goes and breaks hearts. And this is very common within our community. Someone realizes that the mother loves her son a lot. Someone realizes, some cousin or some auntie or someone in the family realizes that, oh, this mother loves her son a lot. So what do they start doing? They start stirring between the two. That, your son, he went to visit his in-laws, but he didn't come to visit you. Mom thinks, baat to say, he went to visit his in-laws, and he didn't come to visit me. She says, I don't trust you. He didn't go to visit his in-laws. He would have come to visit me. Call him right now. And that malang is at his in-laws. He's sitting there with his in-laws and calls him, where are you right now? I'm with my in-laws. And what happens? Right, that person, right there, just by doing that, even though the person did nothing wrong at all. He did nothing wrong. But what is shaitan doing? What is that person, that middle person doing? He's creating friction between who? Between who? 2 people. And out of all people, the mother and the son. And sometimes, some people, they do this between brothers. Sometimes it happens between sisters. Sometimes it happens between cousins. This happens in many different ways. And the greatest thing that could happen is when a person decides to put friction between a loving, obedient husband and wife. That's the worst scenario. When a person sees, and he has so much hasad, and so much malice in his heart that he can't stand 2 people being close to each other. He can't stand 2 people enjoying their life and living in harmony and peace. So he decides to become the prick in the pathway. And he starts stirring. That, did you realize that your husband's not home? Guess why he's not home? Why? There's then this person starts talking all of his junk. You understand? And shaitan does a good job at filling in the blank spots. Shaitan does a very good job at filling in Shaitan does a very good job at filling in the blank spots. There was this person, I don't remember the whole story. Let's see if I remember it. I heard the story some time back. Now, there was this person, he went to the market and he was buying a slave. And when the person that was selling the slave said to him that, don't purchase this slave. He said, why? He said, because this slave is a namma. What is he? Someone who does namima. He stirs between people. So that guy said, him stirring, not stirring, it doesn't make any difference to me. Let me just, let me just purchase him. He'll work for me in my fields. It doesn't matter. Let him stir all he wants to. It's not going to affect my business. It's not going to affect my life. So he purchases him. Now this person comes home. The slave comes home. Now the slave, out of all the people, he decides to stir between the husband and wife, the master and his mistress. So he tells the mistress that, do you know that your husband has an affair with another person? And he's actually planning to marry that person. She goes, oh, that's not possible. He goes, yeah, that's true. So then he goes, how do you know that? He's actually planning to kill you tonight. Oh my God, what? He's going to kill me tonight? He goes, yeah. So then he tells the husband that, did you know that there are a lot of robbers in the area? It was on the news. So when you be careful, and wherever you are, keep some sort of, defensive weapon with you. So if anyone tries to attack you, you can save yourself. So then that person, he pulls a knife out and he keeps a knife with him. At night time when he's sleeping, he puts that knife under his bed. The slave goes and tells the mistress, the mistress, that your husband, he's planning to kill you tonight. And if you don't believe me, go check under the pillow. His knife is there. She goes in the bed, she finds a knife, so she takes a knife and chabuk, she smacks him. She puts that guy to death. So you understand from this story that how a person who stirs can just change the whole story around and just flip it into, and the person has no idea what just happened. So this is what shaitan does. He stirs between the people. And Rasulullah says in one hadith that shaitan, he has his jalsa, his mahfil, his big retreat in the middle of the sea. And he sits on his throne and he gathers all the shaitan and he questions the shaitan that, what did you guys do today? So all the shaitan tell the Peer Gantol Baba that, that we did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. So one shaitan says to the big shaitan that, I stopped one person from praying salah. Shaitan says, mashallah, very good, very good, very good. The other guy says, I stopped one guy from giving in the path of Allah. Very good, by Berdia. Another guy says, I stopped one guy from fasting today. MashaAllah, very good, Berdia. Say, not MashaAllah, but he says, Berdia. Very good, very well done. We use MashaAllah as an expression of joy. So, very good, sit down. So, one shaitan stands up and he says, guess what I did? I made a husband and wife get into argument, and the husband divorced the wife. Shaitan says, MashaAllah, this guy's ready for Khilafah. And he goes to him and he taps him on the back. Well done. So it's as if this person is the Naib and the Khalifa of Shaitan, in a human form, the one who breaks ties. If you see such a person in your family, stay away from that person. If you see there's a person who breaks ties, you should inform people. You should inform your mother that, this person here, this person is very jealous, has a lot of malice in his heart, this person has a lot of hatred in their heart. Be aware of anything this person says. And talk to that person, what are you doing this for? Because the one who breaks ties is on the total opposite of what Rasulullah ﷺ ordered us to do. Okay? So, in this hadith again, Rasulullah ﷺ is saying that the greatest of deeds, of voluntary actions, is to join relations. So ask yourself, and this is a point to take back home. Inshallah, I'll try to act upon it too. Let us all think of two people that we know that haven't spoken to each other, and see if we can get them to speak. And if we can do this, then inshallah al-aziz, the reward that Rasulullah has told the Sahaba, that I will be the one who guarantees a house for you in the middle of paradise, inshallah we'll meet each other there, inshallah al-aziz. So this is something good that we can all do, inshallah. The next session, inshallah, I wanted to focus on some reasons and some things that actually cause disputes within families. There's 5-6 very important points, inshallah. Next week we'll discuss that, and then after that, inshallah, we'll move to the next chapter. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to be steadfast in our deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us beneficial knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all a long life of health and iman and yaqeen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the last portion of our life, the best portion of our life. Grant us death with the kalima La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, burial in Jannat al-Baqi. Resurrect us on the day of judgment along with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wave away from us the hisab kitab on that day. Honor us with the water from the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Grant us first entry into paradise along with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all His pleasure. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us united in this world and reunite us in the hereafter. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdihi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa akhir da'wana, alhamdulillah.